I didn't turn your men into anything. Look at them. This is what they are. Look at them. Beasts.
And welcome to the Mind Your Movies podcast. I'm Ryan,
I'm Shane.
and today we are excited to talk about the Odyssey, the brand new Christopher Nolan movie. It just came out on Thursday, so this is our episode's a little bit late here. We usually release on Thursdays, but we had to go see it and just record it right away. So
Yes, so this was pretty awesome. We got to see Ryan, I think you saw it in IMAX, right? And then I saw it in IMAX 70 millimeter. So it was a glorious experience. My seat was shaking. I could feel the sound was rumbling to my core. It was incredible. So yeah, we're gonna talk about the movie. We're gonna talk about it just kind of in general, our general thoughts without any spoilers, even though I mean, I guess you can still spoil the movie because you don't know what's going to be adapted from, but it is a 3,000-year-old story. But yeah, we're going to do no spoilers, and then we'll do a spoiler section at the end, like we normally do on these little special episodes. So yeah, that I mean, I got to see it Thursday night, IMAX 70 millimeter. It was pretty incredible. I loved it pretty much like top to bottom. Every scene I was in, it's a pretty incredible achievement, I think, and that it's so well made but also so entertaining, especially at the almost 3 hour length. It's just uh pretty incredible. So yeah, we'll get into, but that's my general thoughts. I don't know, what did you think?
yeah, I also was having a blast. This movie was pretty awesome. It's definitely worth the length. If you've watched the podcast before, I'm kind of the 90-minute movie guy.
Yep.
And this movie deserves and earns its length. Um Obviously it's like Shane, like you were saying, it's adapted from uh the epic poem that is 24 books, right, of poetry. And so it's going to be long. I don't know. I can't
It,
imagine cutting anything more from. I have
yeah.
not read the full Odyssey, but I can't imagine. There's definitely moments where you can tell that things are slimmed down and some from what must have been the fuller story. And I can't imagine it coming. Like, I don't know. I feel like it has so much, but it all is so useful and worth having in here. Um,
Yeah.
and
It,
yeah, it's a blast.
they do a really great job of adapting it and making it like just a perfectly coherent story and also it really fits in with Nolan's, constant use of nonlinear storytelling. Pretty much every movie now has nonlinear storytelling for him to one degree or another. And this one, it just works so perfectly with the way it mixes like stories of what's happened and memories, and we're going back to all different time periods within these 20 years of Odysseus going off to the Trojan War, and then his Odyssey to try to get back home and everything. And the way it jumps back and forth between time, like I think it keeps it interesting and keeps things more engaging, but it's never confusing, really.
Yeah. Yeah, and I went into this expecting expecting some sort of non-linearity, right? At this point, you gotta, right? Which is also cool. We've covered Memento on the podcast, which was a great episode. Speaking of,
Mhm.
his non-linear storytelling, what a masterful showing of that. But anyways,
Yeah.
but this movie, obviously not quite that drastic, but I think the way that they work around this by revealing information through stories and stuff like that feels so the core of the Odyssey, right? Where it was, they call it a poem, but the reason the Odyssey was a poem is because it was oral storytelling for hundreds of years before anyone even bothered writing it down, right? And then it was written down, but it's written down as a poem because it's spoken that way, right? And that's how you tell the story. It's not about reading the story, right? And so the idea of learning parts of the story, we're following a character as they learn parts of the story through that oral storytelling practice, just felt like a really good nod back to the origins of storytelling, really.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a lot of it is about storytelling. And I think it's kind of I also have not read the entire Odyssey, so I do wonder how much of it like has changed and been modernized and stuff. And a lot of it is very like there's really interesting like anti-war messages throughout the movie and showing the horrors of war and the, people it doesn't gloss over that it definitely does not gloss over that people are dying in these wars and the tragedy of it all. And, people have to confront that and stuff. And we'll get into that stuff more in the spoilers. But I imagine like throughout most of human history, a lot of people have interpreted like conquering and winning in battles as just oh well, that's a good thing. We won the war, we won the battle. But this takes kind of a different approach to it. So I don't know if maybe that's a slightly different uh way of approaching the story from the original text, I'm not sure. But I really liked that, and I thought it made it really interesting and like added a lot of depth to it and added depth to Odysseus as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Odysseus feels so human because of the way that he processes not only what happened but what he had done. And I'm excited to talk about that in spoilers. But yeah, you're right on the nose there that there's so much. Uh, the theming there is very much so. This is not a heroic tale. This is a horrible tale, right? And the horrors that went into it are not glossed over. Which in some ways, there's also quite a bit of in the mythology, there's quite a bit of horrific elements too, that I think are really, really, really well done here with cool effects, cool designs, uh, horrible outcomes, and really interesting stuff that happens. That I didn't know how far into the. Obviously, it's not really a horror movie, although it is pretty horrific. But
There
um,
are a few sequences that are like basically would fit in a horror movie. They have that like terrifying there's probably like three sequences I think that are actually terrifying and kind of scarier than the things you'd see in a lot of horror in some horror movies.
yeah, and I think much scarier than something you would see from other versions of this being adapted, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
think um not that I've seen too many Odyssey adaptations. Really
Yeah, I there's only been like a few, and I think a lot of them they just try to take a small part of it to adapt it. But I haven't really seen any of them. So
yeah.
it's yeah, this feels kind of like a definitive adaptation of it, I feel like.
Yeah, it really
Uh,
does. And it's hard to say. I mean, obviously, we've outed ourselves. Neither of us have read the Odyssey in full. I do really want to. I wanted to leading up to the movie, but I have so many things I'm trying to read right now, and I'm like, I don't know, like 300 or 200 pages into House of Leaves. If anyone's read that, uh, you know how grueling of an experience that is to be in. So, uh, getting through it. Unrelated, but
you can't do
obviously,
that and the Odyssey because you can't go
yeah,
back to ancient Greece and do that at the same time.
yeah. So this is on the top of my to be read pile now, though. I'm excited to get into it. I'm even more excited now than I was leading into it. I was like, I want to read it to prepare for the movie, and then I never did. And now, after watching the movie, I'm like, holy crap! I have to read through the source material, right?
Yeah, nice. That's good. Uh, I will say also the cinematography and the visuals of the movie is are really incredible. Like Nolan obviously always wants to do things like in camera as much as possible, and obviously he does use special like CGI sometimes, but he usually uses it as like the seasoning on top of something that's there. It's not just straight up entire scenes shot on green screen. And you really feel it in this movie with like the sequences in the ocean and the scale of everything, like especially with the IMAX with the full aspect ratio, like you can see the they really just look like they're out in the ocean. I mean, they are. I mean, I'm sure if you turn the camera around, there's land there, but it looks like they're just out in the ocean, and all the locations are just feel
Yeah,
so real, and the beaches, whether even the more fantastical like locations or anything, it all feels totally real. And there are a lot of other cool special effects that are done in practical ways. And yeah, so the cinematography and the effects and the visuals, it all is just pretty breathtaking, and it definitely has that epic scale. And also, I think the seeing it on a huge screen also like helps with the intimate moments and the close-ups. And I feel like this is, I mean, sorry, I'm kind of drifting into a different point here, but I think this is also like one of Nolan's most effective movies, like emotionally from a storytelling perspective. Not, I mean, there's also like Interstellar too is probably up there, but sometimes in his movies the characters can be like a little bit distant or like we're a little cold, you know. But in this one, like I really did care for all the characters and like got felt like I got to know them very well. And yeah, I think it, you know, a lot of the stuff, you know, of Telemachus and Penelope, right? I think that's,
Yep.
you know,
I think you got
Odysseus is the thing. There we go. Whew, I was sweating.
it.
Um,
Yeah, the names, I will say the names are hard to grasp at times, but
yes, yeah, yeah. But like this, a lot of the stuff in the castle when they're waiting for Odysseus and stuff like that, like it just it's just really, really well done, and you know, the close-ups of faces and everything, it's all just so immersive. So yeah, just really fantastic.
yeah, yeah, I have a bunch to say about some of that stuff. So yeah, definitely the emotional content here. Once we get into spoilers, I'm excited to talk more about this, but the final like 45 minutes going on in this movie, uh, there's some really epic, awesome stuff happening, and also just some really, really core emotional stuff. That theater was getting a little dusty for me at moments. I was feeling it. I was feeling it. Um,
That's
but
weird because we weren't in the same theater, but my theater was a little dusty
yeah,
too.
I have a feeling a lot of theaters are a little dusty when you're going watching
Yeah.
this. So,
And I will say there were moments in the movie toward the end of the theater, people started clapping just out of the satisfaction of things that were taking place toward the end of the movie. So
yeah,
clearly I mean, it was a pack, literally every seat in the
right.
theater was sold out, and it was everyone seemed like everyone loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny the theater experience, right? When you go to a horror movie, sometimes everyone cringing uh and kind of squeamishing together, whatever. Uh,
Squealing like a
Squealing?
pig.
No, no, like squirming, squirming.
Gotcha.
That's the word.
Yes.
There we go.
Or
That
in a comedy, everyone laughing, right?
Yeah, but in this movie, it's like actually you're just clapping. This movie is just so impressive that you're all just sitting there clapping about it. Um, but yeah, definitely the emotional core here is so well done, and the fact that you see so much of that because this is something that we haven't mentioned yet, but the entire movie is IMAX, and I didn't realize that. About halfway through, I was like, holy crap, I have not seen the aspect ratio change at all. And it keeps going. And I looked it up after. The entire movie is shot on IMAX. I knew obviously that he was using IMAX cameras, he always does, but Oppenheimer wasn't entirely that aspect ratio, was it? I couldn't remember.
No, I think Oppenheimer had some aspect ratio changes. But
Yeah,
I think this might be maybe like the first movie shot entirely in like IMAX 70 millimeter
it must be. I mean, I can't imagine anyone
or
doing it before
65, whatever.
Nolan and
Yeah, I think for like narrative films, I think maybe there are like
yeah,
documentaries, like nature documentaries and you know, science documentaries and that type of IMAX stuff that, but now they're more known for the movies. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. And
yeah, yeah, definitely.
um also there are pretty much every performance in this movie is great. To at least very good. I don't think anyone is bad. I think we'll get into like more detail. There's so many characters and so
Oh my
many
god.
actors that it's hard to get to everyone. But I think John Leguizamo was my standout in this movie. Where when I first saw him, I was like, "Oh, John Leguizamo's in this? Like, that's kind of weird. Like, he doesn't strike me as like ancient Greek actor. I don't know." And then he just gives such an incredible performance. Uh, Name of his character is Eumaeus, I
Yeah,
believe.
I think that's right.
And yeah, just he's actually like kind of a beating heart of the movie and of the story. And yeah, just thought he was absolutely fantastic, and he kind of blew me away. I don't even think I knew he was going to be in the movie going into it, and then I think his performance is really fantastic.
Yeah, so many. I mean, every time that somebody's on the screen, I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. I
Yeah,
didn't think that person was going to be here, right? Obviously, also like uh, Robert Pattinson, Anne Hathaway, Tom Holland, Matt Damon at the forefront, obviously amazing. I mean, uh, yeah, just fantastic. But yeah, every single person that comes on screen, you're like, wow,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
So
Pattinson is really great as this sort of smarmy, pretty evil and disgusting and easy to hate suitor who wants to marry Penelope because Odysseus has been gone. Obviously, people want the power, and he's just really good as this just like complete scumbag. Uh, yeah, and also Lupita Nyong'o I thought was really good. I just think she was a little bit like I wish we actually saw a little bit more of like she plays twin sisters, Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra,
sure.
Clytemnestra.
I don't know if you're right on that one, but
Yeah, I don't know. But like just the few scenes that she's in, she is really great. But and I thought that aspect with her and Agamemnon was really interesting and I kind of like I mean, I kind of wanted more, but also maybe that it's good that we got what we needed out of it, and maybe we didn't need any more. But I thought also Benny Safdie, which I was kind of like maybe weird casting for Agamemnon, but you don't really see his face except for one shot, I think. He's
yeah.
mostly just this giant figure with armor, and he's kind of just in a imposing, evil force, basically. And yeah, they're both really good. John Bernthal also really great in his like few scenes.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably of the like secondary characters, he was probably my standout of like, wow,
Mm.
this guy, an excellent like side character casting here. I thought he did really well there.
Yeah,
Um,
and we didn't mention there are a few. I will just say, Elliot Page, Samantha Morton, Corey Hawkins. They were also all really great, but we
yeah,
won't get into. I
I
mean,
mean,
and
also, yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
people in the cast. It's just there's so many characters, and some people are in like one or two scenes. Like Mia Goth is barely in the movie, but she's when she's there, it's like, oh, that's Mia Goth. She's doing good, but she's in a very small portions of the movie.
yeah, yeah. Very, very impressive casting, very impressive acting, of course. And I mean, it's just a really masterfully made movie, right? When you think about the cinematography, you think about the effects, the fact that it's all filmed on IMAX. There's something to be said for that, right? That you're going all in on this style, right? Of course, that does mean, right, that if you're thinking about seeing the movie and you haven't yet, uh, I think obviously we both recommend seeing it in IMAX. I have not seen it. I actually do want to go see it on 70 millimeter film, not IMAX aspect ratio, but just 70 millimeter um, later this week. But I haven't yet.
Nice.
But I am curious to see how much you lose on some of the more emotional scenes, right?
Mm.
Because some of the scenes, you've got a lot, you're taking up a lot of the space here. And so I'm
Yeah,
curious what that cutting will look like in the aspect ratio.
yeah, I agree. It would. That's always happens when I see like movies in IMAX. I'm like, I can't imagine not seeing it in IMAX, like getting the whole frame.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it would still be. I mean, and then I watched Dune 2 and regular non IMAX, and it was still pretty awesome. So, uh, but yeah, oh yeah, last thing before we maybe give our scores, and then I'll go into that. Um, I think that also another kind of thing that's been recurring in Nolan's movies and is very present here is like the kind of cruel and like sinful nature of humanity. And like you see it, I mean, obviously in Interstellar, Man, not to get into Interstellar stuff, but there's that. And then obviously Oppenheimer with creating this kind of, you know, I mean, Odysseus and Oppenheimer, they're on the surface, they seem like complete opposites and they really have nothing in common, but they do share a lot of similarities of, sort of pioneering and creating something that could cause so much destruction in a way. And I think this movie does have a very like that's another. very interesting aspect of it is the kind of the cruelty of humans, and when we sort of are acting out of our selfish desire for whatever, whether power or whatever it is, and that's like a recurring thing throughout the movie and kind of at this point throughout Nolan's career.
Yeah, definitely agree. And in this movie, I think it's exemplified in some small moments really well, and also, of course, in the larger what's happening in the movie pieces too. But I think there's
Yeah,
some small moments where like you also and it adds to the humanity of our main character Odysseus in some of these small moments when he does something that you're like, what? But it's like it's actually a very human moment of fault. But anyways,
and the Odysseus is like he's flawed but more relatable, but a lot of the people around him are really well, some of them also do have, good intentions and stuff, but a lot of them also are kind of, you know, just cruel and selfish and base.
yeah, right, totally. Well, I have a couple things real quick
Yeah.
before our ratings and stuff. But so one, I want to point out that there is a very extreme moment of flashing lights in this movie, which
Yeah.
not everyone cares about. I will say I'm a little sensitive to that stuff. Um, I get migraines, and that can trigger migraines. And this was like maybe a minute and a half of extreme, aggressive flat. I mean, it's a storm, right? I get it, but it
Yeah.
was pretty intense. I did not watch most of that scene,
Mhm.
and I imagine other sensitive viewers might not watch most of that scene. So I want to warn people right away, if it starts looking a little bright, flashy, don't be afraid to close your eyes for a
Yeah.
few minutes, look down, whatever you need to do. Also, um, I'm sure if you have more extreme sensitivities to flashing lights, you probably do a lot of research into this stuff, but this is probably not a movie to see if you have really extreme sensitivities to that stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I don't even really, I mean, if there are flashing lights like that, I kind of just find it annoying and hard to watch. That scene, I did like close my eyes for a few seconds because I was like, this is going a little too crazy, like in the
yeah,
theater right now. So, so I don't know if I would, it's not like I have,
right.
seizures or migraines or anything like that from it, but I just find it, kind of obnoxious, I guess. But I mean, it does get across the idea of this horrific, awful experience. It's probably like 2 hours into the movie, approximately, maybe like an
Yeah.
hour 45, something like around there. I wasn't checking my watch, but yeah, that scene was definitely a little bit hard to watch especially like, a row like E in the IMAX theater, just like getting bombarded.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty crazy. So I just wanted to give that warning real quick. Also, since we're in the non-spoiler section, Letterbox is doing the punch card thing. And uh I think it's a little silly. I don't know.
Oh yeah, of like you
Yeah, have
can
you
like
did
get
you do
a
that?
I did see that. It's on the page that you can like click
Yeah.
the different formats you've seen the movie in. I
Right.
guess it's cool from a marketing standpoint of trying to get people to see it in all the different formats, but I don't really feel the
I
need to
mean,
like see it in all of them.
right. I think this is an interesting thing to me because people ask for a lot of different new features on Letterbox, right? And they made this, which I think is just kind of lazy. Where if you saw it in IMAX 70 millimeter, you can give yourself a little stamp on the punch card, and then it's not associated with that review at all. So that review, it doesn't say that that review is for when you watched it here. So it's encouraging to watch it multiple times, but it's not actually helping you identify those times. Like I just use tags to say what I've seen in IMAX or something, but this doesn't actually help with that piece of it. It's really just so you can like share it on social media when you've seen it 6 times.
Hmm.
And I think that's a little silly. Also, if you've seen it in IMAX 70 millimeter, do you really want to go and see it again uh on just the normal premiere?
Right.
Right. I don't know. But this is a little nitpick. I don't really care what Letterbox does with their development time, but this does not feel like something that I
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really, it kind of just is like, I don't really care. Yeah,
Yeah, I
not a
think
big
I was
deal.
kind of when I heard about this, I was kind of excited because I thought it might help add to the sort of organization of your reviews where like now you could just see what have you punched 70 millimeter in when you went to the theaters, right? Kind of like what I do
Mm,
with tags, but I guess if you want to do that you can just do it with tags. But
mm.
yeah, I don't know, whatever. But
I get you. I get you. That makes
i'm
sense.
i'm just ranting. Obviously it's a huge release, they want to do something to promote it and stuff, but
Yeah, right. Yeah. All
I
right.
have to complain, you know.
Yeah. All right. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about the Odyssey, just without spoilers, I guess. There are like so many awesome sequences that I think we should just wait to talk about in spoilers.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, you know, it's really cool. They actually went to they went to Greece, they went to Italy, they went to Iceland and Morocco to film. You know, it's not like they're
Yeah.
just they're filming on the Mediterranean, right? It's not like they're just
Yeah. Pretty awesome. And yeah, Matt Damon, great. Awesome as
yeah.
Odysseus. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Shane, you saw it in 70 millimeter IMAX. What did you give the movie?
5 stars. This is I just thought it was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. And yeah, I mean, it's I need to have time to sit with it, but definitely in the running for my favorite Nolan movie.
Awesome. I have a lot of compliments about the movie, but I am giving it 4.5. A lot of that really is because there's a whole scene in the movie that I actively could not watch, and then I kind of, because my head was kind of all over the place after that. There was like a good bit of time where I just wasn't in the mood for the movie after, unfortunately. So it took me a little bit to get back into it. Obviously, once I was back into it, the movie rocks again. I will say though, I also think that there's a few moments that feel just shorter than other things. Like as he's going through the journey, there's a few pieces of the journey where I was like, huh, that was quick. It was
Mm,
interesting, but quick.
mm.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. I give it 4.5. I think it's awesome. It's one of the it might be like second on my list of the year. So pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, it's definitely between this and Project Hail Mary for
Yeah.
me for my favorite movie of the year so far.
Yeah, same.
And The Furious was pretty awesome. It's up there. But
Nice. Yeah. I haven't seen that one yet, but you did sound really excited about it last
yeah,
week.
The
So
Furious is pretty awesome. I might have to rewatch The Furious.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's I both think that it's awesome that this movie is 3 hours and keeps you in it the whole time, pretty much. Um, and also I think that it's a notable time commitment. You know, when you're thinking about wanting to go see a movie, there's a reason it's a big release, right? Everyone wants to go see it. Everyone's willing to give their 3 hours of their time to go see this. So,
Yeah,
uh,
I will
yeah,
say if you're going in IMAX 70 millimeter, there's no trailers, no ads or anything. So if it says 6 o'clock, the movie's gonna start at 6 o'clock. But what really starts at 6 o'clock, at least for my screening, and I don't know how long it goes, is a little preview of Dune Part 3. And it's awesome. It starts off and there's a little thing that's it says like a note from Denis Villeneuve that says like, "Thank you, Christopher Nolan, for letting me show this before your movie or whatever." And we just get to see like 2 to 3 minutes of a scene from Dune Part 3. I imagine it's from toward the beginning of the movie. Um, and it's really a section of I mean, there's a big time jump from book one to book two, and this is really the war sequences are a lot of the stuff that gets jumped over in the book, but this is just a war sequence, and we see leading up to it, and then a battle, and then there's some insane stuff that happens. I won't get too into it, but looked incredible. Big, obviously big Dune fan, and seeing that scene was really cool. I wasn't sure what to expect. It's not like you're getting that much of the movie. It's not like I don't know. I mean it's cool. I mean the sequence has we've seen bits of this sequence in the trailer before, but it's just the full not even the full scene, but it's really just a little portion, and it was pretty cool to see. So that started right at the 6 o'clock showtime, and then the movie starts. So if you're one of these people that gets there like 20 minutes late, don't do that if you're going for IMAX 70 millimeter.
yeah, great point. If you're going for regular IMAX like I did, unfortunately you don't get the Dune preview. You do get a new Dune. I think it was a new Dune trailer, at least new to me. I hadn't seen it yet. That was pretty awesome, also. So I do recommend seeing that trailer. It is the last trailer for the showing I went to, and I think that's most of them at least. So I recommend getting there maybe 20 minutes after the showtime because
Uh,
don't
a
watch
lot
the
of
rest
trailers.
of those trailers.
I
But you,
like watching the trailers. I don't mind the trailers.
if you're already gonna be sitting there for 3 hours, though, do you want to be sitting there for 3 hours and 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, do what you want with the trailers,
Yeah.
but right before the if you go to AMC's, there's like the Nicole Kidman thing, and there's like the other popcorn Coca-Cola ad thing. Right before those, there was a Dune 3 trailer. So I would say, I mean, I guess you can watch it on YouTube probably, but uh
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways,
Cool. So
rating
yeah. Oh,
recap. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. Rating recap.
Rating recap real quick. This is notably this. We're recording this on Friday the 17th. So the movie comes out, I guess, today. Although, of course, as the midnight release has become the 11 a.m. release at this point, we got to both see this yesterday, and many people have. So this is not a tiny sample size of people, but it is notable. This is still release day technically, so we're going to give a rating recap here. It's probably it's probably going to change, but whatever. Anyways, Letterboxd 4.3 average right now. Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 96%, audience score is 97%, and IMDb is an 8.1 out of 10. The average there is a 9.0 out of 10, which is tied with Project Hail Mary, ironically, which we also recorded pretty early for our whole list
Yeah.
of every movie we've ever seen. We've done this rating recap for. Project Hail Mary is also 9.0. It's number 3 on our list, so this is tied for number 3. Highest recaps of all time. Just above it is Spirited Away, and above that is Rear Window. So, according to our rating recap system, this is our third or fourth best movie we've ever done on the podcast. But
Yeah.
obviously, you
Yeah.
know.
Cool. And this movie does have kind of a weird connection with Spirited Away. So there you
Yeah.
go. All right. I think uh it's time to get into spoilers.
Cool. So if you haven't seen it yet, this is a great time to run out, or I guess just pause the podcast, get your ticket, and
Yeah.
go and enjoy a 3 hour epic, literally, uh,
Hmm.
film.
Yeah. And if you're not, you can subscribe. We're on the podcast apps, YouTube, Letterboxd, Find Your Movies, all one word, and both of our individual accounts are like linked in the bio there. And yeah, we appreciate anyone listening and anyone who's seen the movie and wants to hear the spoilers. Or I mean, I guess if you've read the book, you can kind of just stay for spoilers if you want to. But stick around. So thank you.
Yeah.
Uh
Also share this with your friends and tell them, stop at the whatever time this is in the podcast. If you want to convince them, if you need to convince them to see the movie, great episode to share with your friends. Tell them to go see it.
Yeah. All right. What are we talking about? I mean, do we just start with the Cyclops?
Cyclops is awesome.
Oh my, what an incredible, because I mean, at the beginning, we're really just getting to know the characters, and it does a really good job. We get to know the dog. John Leguizamo just throwing a dog off a cliff.
Oh
I
man.
mean, these ancient Greeks just living crazy. But that's what people did back in those days. But then this is the easiest way to get us to like Odysseus. He's like, oh, don't throw that dog off the cliff. We'll keep it. And then
Yeah.
now we have a dog to be emotionally connected to for the entire movie. And
Also, easy way to make us hate Robert Pattinson for literally just putting the dog that can't really move very well on top of a pile of
yeah,
dung.
yes. And Corey Hawkins. Pattinson and Corey
Yeah.
Hawkins are so great as just the most hateable, like just evil suitors. Uh Very good. But yeah, so getting to know them, and then because it is told so non-linearly, pretty much the first like big sequence is the Cyclops, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because it tells us the story kind of uh I guess kind of backwards to a point where uh or no, wait, do we get the horse first?
N- Uh well, we see the horse. We see what was the name of Elliot Page's character? Is it Synot or something like that? Or let me hold on. I'm gonna look it up right
Oh yeah,
now.
Signot, right? Because he uses that later on, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, Sinon. Sinon. I don't know. Sinon. I don't know. That guy is like we see him standing outside of
Oh
the
right,
Trojan horse and getting shot, and then so we see that, but we don't see the whole sequence. It's kind of cool the way that they show us little segments of it, and then at the end showing sort of the entirety of the raid of Troy and all that.
right. Because we essentially learn that they've won the war, and Odysseus is trying to find his way home, and we learn the story of him trying to find his way home. Then we kind of get that the story of what he did there, right, and how he got in.
Yeah, yeah, it's told in a very nonlinear way. We're constantly going back and forth. We'll be with Penelope and Telemachus, and then we'll jump back. Maybe someone, we'll jump forward and we'll see Odysseus. He's with Calypso, and and then maybe he's trying to remember something, so then we get a story, and then we pop back. Now someone is telling Telemachus a story,
Yeah,
so
right.
then so there are a lot of different ways that we're jumping around in time. But
Yeah,
I think the first thing we see, just chronologically in the movie is the Cyclops, and that sequence is really the Cyclops just looks terrifying and like
yeah,
disgusting, and yeah.
and somewhat believable. You know, I mean, in the
Hmm.
realm of fantasy, right? I think Nolan really goes for like a pretty heavy, what do you call it? Fantastical realism. I think is used where it's these fantastical elements that are portrayed in a relatively realistic way, or at least it doesn't feel too far out of the realm of possibility, right? In
Yeah.
design. And so like the eye is not only it's like a sideways normal eye, and then the nose is kind of half sideways too. And that design, it really sells it of like this being some like mutated demigod, right? Poseidon's kid that just does not come out right.
Yeah, yeah. And it's pretty disturbing. And it does get into the thing of like Zeus's law and this sort of like cornerstone of civilization at the time of treating people with treating strangers with respect basically, and sort of the way that they unravel that, and they constantly are um breaking that law, and it kind of leads to the downfall of civilization and downfall of humanity into this like marauding cruelty. And the Cyclops is kind of the first example of them kind of just intruding, and obviously also the Cyclops is just killing them, so they I don't blame them. But like Odysseus, I like that Odysseus also has like these flaws of like shooting the Cyclops at the end just because he's like,
Right.
screw you, buddy. But really it just causes trouble and causes like death. I think like a
Yeah.
few people then extra more people end up dying because of that.
Yeah. Well, there's a few moments I remember now before they before I think before we see the Cyclops, I think we actually see them leaving Troy, and we see them getting on a boat and heading out, right? And there's a moment when they're saying, "What about supplies and stuff?" And Odysseus says, "We'll find it along the way. Haven't we taken enough from Troy?" And in that moment, I'm thinking to myself watching the movie, like, "Wow, Odysseus is such a an an honorable, like he doesn't want to cross that line, right? Because we didn't learn all this other stuff yet, right? Um, and and then, right?
Well, cross what line of like pillaging Troy?
Yeah, yeah. I
Well, he
mean,
says we
well,
took enough.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. Like
He
it
doesn't want to
feels
take
like
too
he's like,
much.
yeah, he's like, listen, the war is over. Let's move on, right? Like,
Mm,
um,
right.
but then they get to the Cyclops' place and they get into the cave and they're like, oh, these people must have heard of Zeus's law. We'll tell them and we'll take everything, blah blah. Right? And it's like, oh man, what a jerk! Like,
Yeah, and the really them just abusing this of
yeah,
like, oh, well, because we have to treat strangers nicely, that means I can just take whatever I want. Like
yeah,
a complete like really bad faith interpretation of it of because ultimately
right.
they're just using it for their own benefit, and they're not treating that person with the respect that they would want.
Exactly. And we see this also with the suitors, right? And so the suitors in in Ithaca are, they're not welcoming to the beggars that Tom Holland tries to bring in,
Mm,
right? And
right.
and all this stuff. And that whole, I think that is a huge motif and theme of the movie, is the idea that it's only really Zeus's law when it's convenient, or when it's impactful to you and positive to you, right? Not when it's negative to you.
Yeah, and people keep on abusing it, and yeah. So that's just one of the first examples, but it's such a also like a such a tense and like terrifying scene of this creepy looking monster, and uh yeah, I think it was just a really, and it's so iconic that I think it makes sense that that's kind of like one of the first big, you know, sequences.
Yeah,
Obviously, we see the Trojan horse, but we just see it at the beach. We don't get the whole thing before. But
right.
but anyway, I thought that sequence was great.
Yeah, it's considerably longer than some of the other like mythical sequences or something, whatever you
Mm,
want to call them. Stepping stones, I guess, or whatever. But also the you get a little bit of Odysseus's like ingenuity here, where he comes up with a way for everyone to escape using like the hay.
right.
Um, and we don't know yet that he's the one that built the Trojan, or had the idea of the Trojan horse, right? Well, I guess if you read the book or whatever, blah blah blah. But I did not know going in yet. Also, yeah, at the end we were mentioning he shoots the Cyclops because the Cyclops just like spits out one of their helmets, and he's like essentially just as a like a hey fuck you dude, like he just shoots him in the eye, and or maybe not in the eye because they already poked out his eye, but he shoots him, and
Yeah.
and causes chaos and mayhem as they're all trying to get away, and a few more people die and all that stuff. And you could and potentially he pissed off Poseidon, and that's why the rest of the journey is shit. Um, but it's a moment of true humility and humanity where he feels like the Cyclops is it's spitting out this helmet as like a show of power, or like a you know you're nothing, blah blah, right, blah blah, and so he just fights back against that in a moment of kind of uh mixed and not so positive emotion.
Yeah. He's very prideful
Yeah,
in a
pride,
lot of ways.
totally.
Um, yeah, and then I mean not to go to straight to the end of the movie, but I think that pride element is such a big thing for him, and the end of the movie is really him kind of letting go of that, and that's how he ends up coming back home, is actually just like letting go and trusting, the gods or whatever, trusting in his fate, trusting and not having that pride in trying to do it all himself, which I think is a pretty cool way for that to wrap up and come together at the end.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, what other sequence? I mean, should we try to, I don't remember the exact order of everything.
Well, and we may not hit on everything, but that's okay. But I think the next thing up is the giants with the armor, and
Yes.
the moving trees, which was cool. And the tree movement was kind of subtle. I think you could miss that if
Yes.
you weren't paying attention.
Yeah, it is very subtle in there. But it almost just seems like there are traps. Like
Yeah,
it's kind of unclear what exactly is happening, but it kind of just adds to the confusion of like all the soldiers being overwhelmed and, killed.
yeah, and also really kind of a moment of like humor where you see the kid, and it's just like a giant. It's like a normal sized person, but it's a kid, and he turns around, it's a kid, right? But and then it goes from that moment of like, oh, that was kind of funny, to these giants just running in and slaughtering them and breaking trees along the way, and oh my god, I did not expect at all that many people to die. I
Hmm.
was like, oh, during the Cyclops, they lost a few people and they made it back, and I was like, oh yeah, this time they'll lose a few people and they'll make it back, and that's kind of and then it's like it was a slaughter. They lost
Yeah.
almost everyone. Like right after that, you're down to the handful of people that
Yeah. On the one
dozen or
ship.
yeah.
Yep.
My God.
Yeah. And yeah, we do that sequence is really great. The kid's scream was a little bit ear like make your
Yeah.
ears bleed. So that was a little bit rough, but that's okay.
Yeah. But also the here you get, in each of these you get a little piece of who Odysseus is, which I think is interesting as he's remembering himself and we're learning about him. And you get a great eye shot, right? He takes a bow and he shoots one of the
Yeah.
giants right in the eye, and we see kind of that he is this excellent archer, and that obviously comes up in when he sieges Troy.
Yeah, and at the end of the movie too.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was pretty cool when he shot through the eye there.
Yeah,
He might do that in Troy as well.
yeah,
Like shoot
exactly.
someone in the eye. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because the
You're talking about
Troy,
yeah.
they have like similar armor, so he gets the same exact shot on one of them.
Yeah. Um I mean, I think the scene where I maybe we can talk about the witch scene with
Yeah,
Samantha Morton where they go onto this land and they get turned into they need food and Samantha Morton offers them food. Well, not Samantha Morton, Circe or whatever. She offers them food and it turns them into pigs. And I thought that was a really, really great scene of like it was
horrific.
obviously terrifying. The
Yeah,
the the transformation is like really horrifying, like genuine horror movie type stuff. But also just the thematic like resonance of it all of these people the way that warfare does turn people into these like animals and turns us like toward our most base like worst instincts. And I think it also made her a more like interesting character where she's like, well, she's basically like she's probably been, gone dealt with people, raping and pillaging and whatnot, and she's like, I'm basically just defending myself at this point. Like they would have attacked me if they, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like she's clearly, so it doesn't like justify it or whatever, but it is also like yeah, I don't know. It's just and it plays into all the themes of the horrors of war and all these things. And I thought it was just so well done, just the that entire sequence, and especially with Odysseus hunting and find and
yeah,
with the deer and everything. It was just really great, and that had a lot of the magical realism, obviously too.
yeah. I agree. I thought that was really cool. Really, really liked when you see the lion, you see the tiger, and you're like, "What the hell is going on?" And then you see all the piled up armor outside when they're so lots of interesting little clues to that this something is wrong here. And then, yeah, that the scene itself was so it really felt like it could be in like a Cronenberg movie or something. The body horror of the transformation, um,
Yeah.
really, really cool. And then also the when they're when they're leaving and they're like, we're not going to let her live, are we? And he's like, I forget exactly what Odysseus says, but he essentially says, go away, I'll deal with it. And then he just talks to her, and he gets a little bit of a prophecy, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And she says to, or she
That's
tells him the direction, I
that's
guess.
when she tells him to go to Hades, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, right, right. And then that's
Yeah.
where he gets the prophecy. Yeah. And then Hades was
Oh my
really,
gosh.
really cool.
Insane. Like really like evil demonic vibes of like you have to like sacrifice goats and drink their blood to then like go to Hades and then he talks to all this is the scene of him confronting all these dead soldiers and all these hundreds thousands of soldiers that have died under his command and especially Sinon who
Yeah.
like he basically sacrificed for the Trojan horse plan because Sinon couldn't know the plan because Odysseus knew that he would have given it up, given up the truth. If he had known the truth, he would have told them to try to save his own life.
Right.
But like just confronting that and like confronting the horrors of war, um, I thought it was, and just the look of it with all this like
Yeah.
black like lava, volcanic rock almost, or like dust and ash, and it was just a creepy, like terrifying scene.
Yeah. And at this point, we had already seen because Tom Holland's character, sorry,
Telemachus.
Telemachus had already gone and heard from um uh Menelaus, the John Berthold's character,
Menelaus.
Menelaus, thanks. Um, had already heard from him. Also, I'm just gonna say the names in this movie, uh, hard to grab during the movie. Uh,
Yeah, I have
these are
the
tough
I
names.
have the cast list right here, so I
Yeah,
can like look at them. But yeah, it's definitely, besides like Penelope, Helen, there's a
yeah.
couple easy ones, but most of them are pretty tough.
Yeah. But anyway, so we've already heard the story of inside the Trojan horse at this point. And so when he's talking to Sinon, he mentions, I was right there with you when you died, right? And then it shows you kind of small flashbacks to that whole sequence that we just saw, which was cool. But yeah, so we already saw the horrors, at least in part, of betraying Zeus's code like that, of taking what is you're saying is a gift to bring inside of their place and using that as a vehicle for war. Um, so we've already seen that, and that was a really impactful time when you actually get to see them going in. Also, horrible situation being in that horse. Like a few of them
Yes.
drowned to death. Like, and they're like literally pissing and shitting on each other because
Yep.
they. Yeah,
They're
oh my
basically
god.
drowning in their own like piss and stuff, and
Yeah, what a
eh,
great gift. It's a wooden horse that smells like shit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's such a different like depiction of the Trojan horse than like normally you see it and it's on wheels and it's in the wood and they bring it right up to the doors and it's a lot more like cunning and heroic in a way. And this movie really shows the horror of it and really is more like they're the invading force. And Agamemnon is really just committing these atrocities to for trade routes. And obviously that hits home with basically everything that every war that the US military has joined in the past whatever 50 years has been for, our own economic, interests rather than the any kind of moral backbone. And that's most wars are at least started for these, power or wealth. And usually it's someone like Agamemnon, a king who has the power, and then now all these soldiers are kind of roped into it. And it's like we kind of have to go, Like even at the beginning, Odysseus doesn't even want to go to war, but he kind of has to. He's like, I don't really have a choice in it. So I think the movie is just very effective in the anti-war like aspect of it, and this sequence of the Trojan horse, like kind of the way it's so different from traditional depictions of the that sequence, it like emphasizes that.
Yeah, and this stops, I think, pretty much once the Spartans, I guess, come into the city, right? So you see Agamemnon in this giant armor in the middle. All the Spartans are rushing in, and you might see them kill a few of the soldiers, but you don't really
It,
see everything, I think, until Odysseus himself is talking about it to
at the end,
Penelope. Yeah.
yeah, most of what we see from it is when uh uh Menelaus is telling
Yeah.
Telemachus it, and then yeah, like yeah,
So they sneak out of the
basically
horse, I think, at this point,
yeah,
right?
they yeah, when he's telling Telemachus about it, they like sneak out and they open the doors, but yeah, you don't quite see he and it's interesting like he basically says, "All right, well that's enough for now." Like that's how they get out of the scene. Like
Yeah.
we cut back and he's like, "All right, that's enough." So it's clearly like that's the story being told by Menelaus, So that type of like oral storytelling and people recounting things like is, that's just a clear example of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's an example also of his perception of what happened, perhaps too, right? Of
Hmm.
in Odysseus's perception at the end of the movie, what happened was horrible, right? And you see it full fledged. But in uh uh Menelaus's perspective, it's this heroic tale. They're shooting people in the eyes and they're fighting hard to get the doors open just in time to be able to get their soldiers in and win the war. And obviously, viewing this with an anti-war lens, you're probably already thinking like, hey, they're totally betraying a peace deal, essentially, right? Like they've offered to end the war, they're sneaking in and stuff, but it's kind of this heroic moment still when it's told the first time. Um, yeah, even if you know that like it's awful, it's played off because of his perspective as if it's heroic.
Yeah. And also, yeah, this is kind of also when we're getting like the Helen stuff with, we
Yeah.
see half of her face has been like, de like, you know, scarred and stuff. I think by John Bernthal's character. Maybe like because her twin sister, well, Agamemnon is Menelaus's brother, right?
Yes, and he's the one married to Helen.
I
The
believe he's the one married to Clytemnestra.
Oh, really? I thought
Yeah.
Helen was the one that killed. Okay, I don't know. I got
No, I
confused.
I believe Helen is the one married to John Bernthal,
No, you're
and
right.
her
Yeah.
her twin sister is Clytemnestra, and she, uh, when this is kind of it all ties together. Like Agamemnon comes back, and then she kills him, as out of revenge because he sacrificed their daughter for like power to like some,
To the
gods, quote
gods.
unquote gods, demonic
Yeah.
entities, really. Um, and yeah, so yeah, and then he's in Hades and he gives him the warning of like, don't, that's why he doesn't just be like, I'm Odysseus when he gets back. And which is really cool and works so effectively at the end of like him pretending to be, this beggar and everything.
Yeah.
Very effective, like works so well. But yeah, and I thought that whole sequence and like Lupita Nyong'o was really good. Like I said earlier, I
Yeah.
just feel like there could have been more. Like I wanted more because I felt like that whole story and everything is was very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the parts where I felt like it was a little short-handed.
Hmm.
And then the next two, like uh I think they're the next two fantasy sequences, kind of. Oh, I guess you get them on the island briefly uh where they
The
decide
cows,
to, yeah, they eat the cow, right? And that goes back into the whole like consume and greed and all that stuff. But then you get the sequence with um the sirens, and you get the sequence with that monster.
right?
And
The sirens, I think, are before. I think
it might be.
I
Yeah.
think the monster. Yeah, that. So I think I'm pretty sure the monster, like the whirlpool, is them. They're trying to get away from the whirlpool, and then
Yeah.
that like monster. Is it like a rock monster that comes out of the cliff, or
I have no
is
idea. Yeah, it looked like it. It like looked like it lived in a hole in the cliff, but it looked like
Hmm.
rock. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Um,
That was cool. That
it
was
was
a crazy
cool,
sequence.
but I thought it was a little short-handed in the sense that like you see it snag up a few people and then it goes away, and there was nobody had to actually like there was no way. I guess, I mean, what did they do? They can't really fight the thing, I guess, but like
Hmm.
it just felt like it comes in, it snags a few people, and then it's gone, and then it's like, ah, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind that. I thought it was,
Yeah.
I think it kind of like, I'm glad that the movie was well paced in
Yeah.
that way, and it is pretty long. So I feel like that sequence being quick, I didn't mind. And I thought the sirens was so well done. I thought that was like a pretty incredible sequence. Obviously, like normally that's like something that gets harped on more in these like
Yeah.
type of adaptations, but I thought it was really great of just like the way like hearing the thing that you want and like how it's so horrible actually like I don't know, I thought it was very interesting.
I did think that was interesting. And yeah, maybe I'm just used to it being a little bit more harped on, which is a funny ironic phrasing, right? But yeah. Um but between that and the monster, both, I think they were fairly close to each other, but not maybe right after each other. But both
I
those,
think I think they were like right,
were they?
maybe
Yeah.
back to back because they're on the boat and then I
Yeah.
think maybe those three sequences and then they land on that maybe there's the storm as well. The storm might be in, oh no, the storm is after they leave
Yeah, so they
the
land, I think
cows.
these happen right after Hades, and then they land on the island with the cows, and
Right,
then the storm gets rid of everyone other than him.
right.
Um, but yeah, I think, I think considering how epic and stuff the giants and the coloss and the cyclops, sorry, and stuff was, I just expected a little bit, like especially the monster one. I was just surprised that it like went away, and I was like, huh. Like
Mm.
it wasn't a huge thing, but I was a little like, what happened? Why that thing just, and it's funny because in Hades, the guy tells him, the prophet or whatever tells him, six of your men will die if you take that route. And they end up taking that route. And I guess six people died and then the thing was happy. But yeah.
Yeah, 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 I think maybe I was just satisfied by a lot of the other big sequences of
Yeah.
like the Trojan horse, the Cyclops, and the ending too, that I didn't mind that some of the other things because it
Yeah.
felt like it was part of the journey. I'm glad it didn't feel like, okay, now we got to sit here and we got to stop for,
Yeah.
all these different things. So yeah, it didn't bother me. I thought it worked for the pacing.
I'm glad. Um, I mean, and that's really where my between that and then right after you get the lightning storm
Yeah.
thing, and between that and the storm, those are really
Yeah.
my only complaints about the movie altogether.
Yeah.
It's like,
My main complaint would be at the end, Tom Holland takes so long to kill that one
oh yeah,
guard. Yeah, Odysseus is downstairs. I mean, this whole sequence is awesome. Odysseus,
yeah,
Odysseus
it's,
is it's just awesome, and he's just like killing everyone. It's incredible. And then Tom Holland is just upstairs, can't even deal with this one fool.
yeah, and it takes him
Terrible.
so long that he's able to give so many, excuse me, weapons.
Yeah. Oh
that
my
was that was
gosh.
actually that was actually pretty annoying. And then the fact that he's leaving him in charge, I'm like, if he was in your spot a second ago, someone else would be in charge.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I do think like maybe the idea is that he's like struggling so much, and then once he kills the guy, it's like he's crossed a barrier, and now he's like, okay, I've done it. But then we don't really see like any change in his
Yeah,
character or anything.
yeah. I mean, it's fine. Like, yeah, it was a little weird, but it's fine.
I
Also, it
was
added
like,
to the fight. The fact that so many weapons got involved was crazy.
yeah, and it was weird. Like he never used his spidey senses, never used any webs. Like it was a weird scene.
Yeah, yeah. What's going on, Peter?
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, it was I just loved the entire ending, and yeah, John Leguizamo, awesome at the end, throughout, but at the end too.
Yeah. Yeah, the ending was really, really cool. I thought it was gonna end. So there's the moment when he's explaining everything to Penelope, and it's pretty clear that she realizes who he is. And at the same time, uh Antinous, the Robert Pattinson's character, is coming over and gonna assassinate um his kid. And I thought that what was gonna happen was that there'd be a small altercation with with Pattinson's character, and that was going to be the end of the movie. I did not at all expect what happened, and that was really cool. And then Robert Pattinson's character being such a little bitch in the fight scene. Every
Yeah.
time that weapons come down, he's like, go get that, guys, the shield,
Yeah,
get the
it's like
shield."
get the shield, telling everyone else what to do. But is that not what everyone who who's like trying to
Yeah.
gain power? That's what they want to do. Yeah,
Oh yeah, of course. And even when right when he realizes that it's actually Odysseus, right? Odysseus strings the bow and strums it in epic fashion, of course. And he realizes and he instantly starts going towards the door, and the guys at the door are like,
yeah, no one can leave.
and
Yeah,
then he makes the
and
shot, and it was who was it that goes?
Corey Hawkins.
Yeah, right.
He's like, and he was also so hateable throughout the movie. And he's like, "Are you Odysseus?" And then gets knifed in the neck, killed right away. Like that was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, so cool. And
Arrow, yeah, arrow to the neck, and then all of a
I think
sudden,
well, it might have been an arrow. I thought it was maybe a sword, but regardless.
no, I think he shoots the arrow right because there's not supposed to be any other weapons at the time.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And so he shoots an arrow right into his neck, and then the whole fight scene starts with him just arrowing people, just
Yeah.
bam, 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 arrow, 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 until the other weapons come in. But that was awesome.
Yeah.
There's also one really cool, maybe my favorite kill in the thing was when he has one guy, he has the shield against the guy, and he just keeps stabbing him with an arrow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 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 And he's like taking arrows too, and he's like
Yeah,
pretty awesome. Yeah, very satisfying ending.
yeah. But there's also the combat that he talks to Penelope about, and this is
Yeah,
the
the flashback to the
yeah.
Trojan War. Yeah.
Obviously, I'm glad they end on the high note of like the cool action that we get to like cheer for because you want to see all the bad guys get killed. But but yeah, just be pretty much just before that, we see what happened after the Spartans actually entered, and they're killing civilians, they're burning buildings, they're all sorts of terrible stuff is happening, and we get to see the origin of his Athena. He's seeing Zendaya the whole movie as Athena, and we see soldiers, Spartan soldiers, kill Zendaya on the street, and at that same moment, someone chops off the head of the Athena statue and everything, and so we see why he's haunted by that person specifically because he watches that happen right in front of him. Obviously, among all the other horrible things, but that's the one that really stuck with him. So Athena.
Interesting. I didn't interpret it that way. I interpreted it as just he was when they chopped the head off of the statue, he was envisioning them killing
Oh,
the actual version of the god that he like interacts with. But maybe I'm
interesting. So
wrong.
you thought that he was interacting with Athena before he went away, like before the war.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a good point. It was just because it was in the
Yeah.
chronology of the movie, but he doesn't actually
I think
start, does he?
we only see him interact with her, I think, after he's left. The first time it's on the beach with Calypso, and then I think we see him interacting on the boat a few times. Um,
Hmm.
but
You're
I could
probably
be
right.
wrong. I could be wrong.
No, no, yeah, you're probably right. I was like, oh, that was kind of weird. But then when they chop, like, they kind of cut to like
Yeah.
chopping her head off and chopping the head off of the statue. So I thought it was more a representation of that. But I see. I think I like your interpretation of it.
Well, I had a question, which is so my interpretation was that, right? That they kill her and he's haunted by this vision of her. Whether it's really Athena, right? Maybe it's Athena taking that shape because she knows that that's what haunts him or something, or he's just haunted. It's an hallucination. It's like, more like PTSD than gods. Or here's a third option. This is the wild card, but maybe that Zendaya on the street there was Athena actually just dressed as a peasant or as a person in the street because they
Mhm.
talk about how Zeus's law is because you never know if somebody is a god. And then they
Yeah,
they kill her. Obviously it's a god, so she's not dead, but that's maybe she was Athena the whole time.
right. I think that makes the most sense.
Nice. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
wild card. Cool. I
But
like that.
yeah, that one definitely makes the most sense because it ties in with the idea of the Zeus's law and everything. So yeah, I think that makes more sense.
Nice. I thought so too. I was like, my initial thought was just that it was either some PTSD war stuff going on with him, or that it was like Athena, but she was like, you saw this person, this is what's haunting, whatever, maybe. But I do, once I thought about that, I was like, actually, I like the idea that she was just a person. She was just there, and no one's supposed to know if it's a god or a person, right? So that's the whole thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
there you go.
yeah. I think that makes sense to me. Cool. And I also really like just that we do get that like the what am I, closure, I guess, on that aspect of it. But really, like the end of the movie, it's such an epic movie, and we're we have these incredible monsters and epic sequences. But the ending is really personal and really just about like these characters and the family. And I think that is like pulled off really, really well. And I actually cared about the characters and everything, and I think it just totally stuck the landing. And yeah, thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I agree, and I really do like how staunchly anti-war this was. I didn't really expect that. As a kid, I kind of learned about the Trojan horse, and I was like, dude, what a genius idea.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and that's how it's I think like treated
yeah,
like culturally.
yeah. But in reality, it's like, yeah, actually, you've betrayed one of the most sacred ideologies of your time and your people. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, dude.
and it is like it is interesting like war. Even if you look at war in like the 1800s and stuff, and there it had like you're just lining up against each other, and it's like this is clearly bad, like bad strategically, but also there was like some sense of like a code to it. And
Yeah.
then now it's just like, well, we'll just bomb a building filled with children, and maybe we'll kill one bad guy in the meantime, and it's like it's just completely evil, and the disintegration of any kind of like code of honor or ethics, and yeah.
Yeah, which also gets into your point of connecting this to Oppenheimer, right? Of Oppenheimer,
Mm.
the atomic bomb kind of represents in a way the Trojan horse, right? Where it's this giant breach of what is sacred, right? You're taking a weapon that now destroys a city to stop the killing of soldiers,
Yeah,
right?
it's like the main character has created an innovation that could destroy civilization and humanity,
Yeah,
and they have to kind of reckon with that.
yeah, and I think I don't know how much more to say about it, but it does feel like without seeing this movie, it's impossible to explain how effective the theming here is of that breakdown of society as a result of that, right? It
Yeah,
really is impossible to describe how well it's
and
done.
and also they're always talking about in Ithaca, like 20 years after, in whatever current times or whatever, they're talking about these people from the sea that are coming and they're marauding and they're killing all these people. Like you need to be scared of these invaders from the sea. And really, it's Odysseus and the soldier Agamemnon soldiers are the people from the sea that created these tales of horror that, oh, these people from the sea are going to come and they're going to murder you all and everything, and it's really them that everyone is afraid of,
Yeah,
which I mean, as soon as they mentioned it, I kind of was like, well, yeah, there's a good, they started that, but I think it's still very effective as showing that, oh no, we're the baddies.
yeah. I'm dude, good for you for getting that. I didn't realize that until literally Penelope says you were the people from the sea, and I was like, oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
why there's stories of these people. It's them. They're the ones. But that was and I think that moment for me was really effective because I didn't realize that. I don't know how. I mean, there's so much going on in the movie, right? But
Yeah, it's a lot. I
yeah,
didn't realize the Zendaya, the that aspect of things, and it would make a lot of sense that it would tie in with the Zeus's Law that they keep on bringing up every 10 minutes. But yeah,
yeah,
but I didn't so yeah, I mean that's the thing. And this movie is pretty dense. I feel like it would reward rewatching. But I mean, it feels.
yeah,
I do feel like I got like it's not like I watched it and I was like Tenet. I watched it and I was like, I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what just happened. But this
yeah,
one I felt like fully satisfied, but also it's just there's layers to it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Which I mean, I think to that point, this feels like a very epic movie, but still a fairly accessible movie. I mean, you think about Christopher Nolan, and there is like Tenet and Memento, and this does not feel like a movie that requires you to watch it and be confused and then rewatch it and hopefully make a little more sense. This is a movie that more like you know Oppenheimer or some of his other works that you can watch it and be really satisfied and feel like you've had this experience that was really worthwhile, which I think is really good
Yeah.
considering it's worth noting that IMAX tickets are expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Um, Yeah, I also the music is really great. Ludwig Göransson does the score. Also, Travis Scott is in the movie. He's barely in it. He has like a few lines, but he plays a bard, and kind of plays into the, art and storytelling and all of that. Um, and also, I think after they escaped those giants, they played a song, and I noticed James Blake was humming and there was a voice, and I think it was
Oh,
James Blake's voice. And so
interesting.
James Blake, great musician, great singer. But I think that was his voice, but maybe it wasn't, but it sounded like it was.
Nice. I didn't even notice. So the music was pretty awesome, but there's definitely, I did not catch on to everything. But
Yeah, and
yeah.
there's no Travis Scott songs in the movie. That would be weird.
The end credits.
The end
Yeah.
credit, yes, the end credits. There is Travis Scott in that one, but it'd be weird if there was like if they played Sicko Mode halfway through this. But
That would be insane. No, the movie and all the music, amazing job by Ludwig Göransson because
yeah,
he's done some really awesome stuff in other movies that we've talked about on the podcast. But
Tenet.
Tenet, yep. But in this movie, it really feels so appropriate for the place, and it feels so historically realistic. I mean, I wasn't there in ancient Greece, but I felt like I was yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely shows his versatility of how it does sound quite different from a lot of his other scores, I think, and it worked like perfectly. So yeah, he's Ludwig Göransson just crushes it every time.
Well, I
That's
think
it.
that's a lot for the Odyssey.
Yeah.
We've spent about half of the movie length here talking about the movie. So hopefully you guys
Yeah.
enjoyed the movie. Hopefully you guys enjoyed listening to us. Your thoughts, we'd love to hear those. We also have a few things to share with you real quick. So I guess the first thing, should we share our picks for next week's episode?
Yes, yeah, I guess we have not said that, but yes, if in case anyone doesn't listen, this is a half episode. We have our full episodes where we have a random topic that we take out of this cup of categories, and so next week's episode, our topic is Philip Seymour Hoffman movies, and so we each picked one. And Ryan, what did you pick?
Yeah, I went with maybe kind of an oddball pick, but I realized that he's directed one movie, Jack Goes Boating from 2010. He directs it and he stars in it. And it's actually a I learned later that it's actually a adaptation of a play that he also stars in. So,
Oh,
um,
okay.
but we're obviously doing the movie version here. But that's my pick for this is Jack Goes Boating.
Nice. Yeah, and this one I have not seen. It's kind of a lesser known movie, but it's available. It's on Canopy, it's on Hoopla, so you can probably access one of those with your public library card. If anyone out there doesn't have one, go get one. And it's on Amazon Prime Video, so you can. It looks like it's available on those, so go check it out, and then hop in for next week's episode. My pick is The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson, 2012 movie. Starring Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix and Amy Adams. Uh, Great movie. Very dense. A lot to talk about. This one, funny enough, also streaming on Canopy, Hoopla, and Amazon Prime Video. So if you have any one of those three, you can watch both movies and be ready for next week's episode.
Yeah, if you're an avid listener of the show, then you know how much we love Hoopla and Canopy and all that stuff. If you're not, then you should know these are we try to jam this in pretty much every episode. We try to say how wonderful these streaming services are because they're free. They're through the public library. Support your public library. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just a cool resource if you're into movies. It's a good way to watch, a few movies for free every month. Um, so yeah, The Master and Jack Goes Boating. And yeah, in case anyone doesn't know, we have to do a portmanteau of these titles, and we're very mature and we're very serious film critics over here. So the title of next week's episode is Jack Goes Master Boating.
Which is a great title, and I see nothing weird or obscure about it. It's just how we normally do things. We're just
Yeah.
slamming them together. We didn't really think about it.
Yeah, nothing weird about it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So stick around, subscribe on YouTube. We're on the podcast apps, Apple and Spotify, and I think Amazon, maybe other places. Um, and yes, subscribe, stick around. After next week's episode, we will be doing another episode like this of like a quick turnaround for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Comes out in a couple weeks. I think we're both I'm pretty excited about it. I don't know if I'm not Odyssey levels of excited, but I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, big Spider-Man fan. And
Yes.
I'm pretty excited. I obviously, yeah, not Odyssey levels of excitement, but I am looking forward to it. It feels like it's kind of a refresh because, well, but we'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, yeah. You're the big Spider-Man fan. As the resident Batman fan, I will say there was recently news that the Batman Part 2 has been pushed back again to February of 2028. So yeah, we're, you know, not to bring the mood down at the end of the episode, but it's okay. As long as it comes out good, that's okay with me.
They said Pattinson was in too much lately.
Yeah, Pattinson's been in everything. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
Tom Holland, Pattinson, Zendaya, dude, these guys.
Yeah, a lot of crossover, a lot of Odyssey crossover. So yeah, that'll be fun. Cool. I think that's all we have to say. Thank you all for listening. We very much appreciate it. And don't forget to mind your movies.